Yes, there we are. Malena hasn't, there she is. There she is, because Claudia probably had to leave. Okay, there we are. So, they are on the train, and you see the music of the rhythm of the train, yes, is also described. They sat there now and then looking at each other. Andrews discovered all at once that the coppery glint on the telegraph wires was the same as the glint in Genevieve's hair. Berenike Artemisia Arsinoe. Again, the Egyptians, that you remember the pictures that he remembers because of her eyes, no? The names lingered in his mind, so that as he looked out of the window at the long curves of the telegraph wires that seemed to rise and fall as they glided past, he could imagine her face with its large, pale brown eyes and its small mouth and broad, smooth forehead, suddenly stilled into the encaustic painting on the mummy case of some Alexandrian girl. He's falling in love with this woman, yes, and forgetting about Jeanne. Tell me, she said, when did you begin to write music? Why, I think I forgot to brush my hair this morning, he said. You see, I was so excited by the idea of coming to church with you. They laughed. But my mother taught me to play the piano when I was very small, he went on seriously. She and I lived alone in an old house belonging to her family in Virginia. How different all that was from anything you have ever lived. It would not be possible in Europe to be as isolated as we were in Virginia. Mother was very unhappy. She had led a dreadfully thwarted life. That unrelieved, hopeless misery that only a woman can suffer. She used to tell me stories, and I used to make up little tunes about them, and about anything. The great success, he laughed, was, I remember, to a dandelion. I can remember so well the way Mother pursued up her lips as she leaned over the writing desk. She was very tall, and as it was dark in our old sitting room, had to lean far over to see. She used to spend hours making beautiful copies of tunes I made up. My mother is the only person who has ever really had any importance in my life. But I lack technical training terribly. So you see, this is the first time that we learned something about Andrews's past. We knew that he came from Virginia, from a family, from an educated family, that he had studied, yes, etc., but not about his childhood and this unhappiness of his mother and this isolation of because this woman had an old house in Virginia, and probably the place was, well, Virginia is very connected to Malena and to her investigation. So you can very well picture how Virginia was, what Virginia was like in the beginnings, of the century.
Yes, and even now, Virginia, I imagine also in the 20th century, has a social environment that have many illustrated people.
Yes, yes.
Or distinguished people.
Yes. It's a place that has this characteristic, also of being a more traditional, let's say, more conservative than
many people that work for the government.
Yes.
It's very near. The Washington D.C. is very near. It's surrounded by Virginia. So many people that works with justice, government, I don't know, attorneys.
Yes.
Live in Virginia.
It's a kind of elegant place, isn't it?
I imagine.
Yes, this is what they say. So he was raised up there. His mother read stories to him or told him stories, and he invented music. And his mother took down the music that he invented, but of course he didn't have technical training. That's why he wanted to learn at the Sorbonne. Do you think it is so important, said Genevieve, leaning towards him. Perhaps it isn't, I don't know. I think it always comes sooner or later if you feel intensely enough. But it is so frightful to feel all you want to express getting always beyond you. An idea comes into your head and then you feel it grow stronger and stronger and you can't grasp it. You have no means to express it. It's like standing on a street corner and seeing a gorgeous procession go by without being able to join it. Or like opening a bottle of beer and having it foam all over you without having a glass to pour it into. No, so he expresses very well this idea, this situation when you have an idea of something, but you cannot express it properly. You cannot make it become something. No, so, but you can drink from the bottle, can't you? She said. I'm trying to, said Andrews. Here we are. There's the cathedral. No, it's hidden. So they arrived at this Chartres. They got to their feet as they left the station. Andrews said, but after all, it's only freedom that matters. When I'm out of the army, again, this wish. Yes, I suppose you're right. For you, that is, the artist should be free from any sort of entanglement. I don't see what difference there is between an artist and any other sort of workman, said Andrew savagely. No, but look, from the square where they stood above the green blur of a little park, they could see the cathedral, creamy yellow and rust color, with the sober tower and the gaudy tower and the great rose window between, the whole pile standing nonchalantly knee-deep in the packed roofs of the town. I think I sent you a picture of the cathedral at this point. No,
yes.
They stood shoulder to shoulder looking at it without speaking. In the afternoon, they walked down the hill towards the river that flowed through a quarter of tottering big gable houses and mills, from which came a sound of grinding wheels. Above them, towering over gardens full of pear trees in bloom, the apse of the cathedral bulged against the pale sky. On a narrow and very ancient bridge, they stopped and looked at the water, full of a shimmer of blue and green and gray from the sky. Pay attention to the rhythm in all this section, yes? Full of colors, description, and the kind of, because of what happens afterwards. I don't know if you went on reading. Their senses,
yes.
Malena, you haven't.
No, because I read just up to now.
Okay. Their senses glutted with the beauty of the day. Glutted. Imagine this verb, coming from gluttony. You eat in excess. Their senses glutted with the beauty of the day and the intricate magnificence of the cathedral. Languid with all they had seen and said, they were talking of the future with quiet voices. It's all in forming a habit of work, Andrews was saying. You have to be a slave to get anything done. It's all a question of choosing your master. Don't you think so? Remember that they are talking about the future, yes? So he's imagining himself working on the Queen of Sheba, like a slave, but working on something he likes. Yes, I suppose all the men who have left their imprint on people's lives have been slaves in a sense, said Genevieve slowly. Everyone has to give up a great deal of life to live anything deeply, but it's worth it. She looked Andrews full in the eyes. Yes, I think it's worth it, said Andrews, but you must help me. Now I am like a man who has come up out of a dark cellar. I'm almost too dazzled by the gorgeousness of everything, but at least I am out of the cellar. Look, a fish jumped, cried Genevieve. I wonder if we could hire a boat anywhere. Don't you think it'd be fun to go out in a boat? A voice broke in on Genevieve's answer. Let's see your pass, will you? Andrews turned round. A soldier with a round brown face and red cheeks stood beside him on the bridge. Andrews looked at him fixedly. A little zigzag scar above his left eye showed white on his heavily tanned skin. Let's see your pass, the man said again. He had a high-pitched, squeaky voice. Andrews felt the blood thumping in his ears. Are you an MP? Yes. Well, I'm in the Sorbonne detachment. What the hell's that? Malena, you are surprised.
Yes, but is it a problem for him to meet someone that works for the army because he left Paris without a permission?
Well, and this is why I told you that the rhythm and the rhythm of the story changes from now on.
Yes,
because
suddenly.
terribly, because he has been enjoying nature and walking and, you know, falling in love, thinking of the future. And what he said is, you have to be a slave to get anything done. It's all a question of choosing your master. But
Yes.
now he's not able to choose because he's being caught by the MP.
Yes.
And the man says, what the hell's that? What does he say? Asked Genevieve, smiling. Nothing. I have to go see the officer and explain, said Andrews in a breathless voice. You go back to your aunt's and I'll come as soon as I arrange it. No, I'll come with you. Please go back. It may be serious. I'll come as soon as I can, said Andrews harshly. She walked up the hill with swift, decisive steps without turning round. Tough luck, buddy, said the MP. She's a good looker. I'd like to have a half hour with her myself. Look here, I'm in the Sorbonne School detachment in Paris, and I came down here without a pass. Is there anything I can do about it? They'll fix you up, don't worry, cried the MP shrilly. You ain't a member of the general staff in disguise, are you? School detachment. He won't Bill Haggis laugh when he hears that. You pulled the best one yet, buddy, but come along. He added in a confidential tone. If you come quiet, I won't put the handcuffs on you. How do you know you are an MP? You'll know soon enough. They turned down a narrow street between gray stucco walls, leprous with moss and water stains. Look at the difference in the description of the house. At a chair inside the window of a small wine shop, a man with a red MP badge sat smoking. He got up when he saw them pass and opened the door with one hand on his pistol holster. I got one bird, Bill, said the man, shoving Andrews roughly in the door. Good for you, handsome. Is he quiet? Handsome grunted. Sit down there. If you move, you'll get a bullet in your guts. The MP stuck out a square jaw. He had a sallow skin, puffy under the eyes that were gray and lustreless. He says he's in some goddamn school detachment. First time that's been pulled, ain't it? School detachment, do you mean an OTC? Bill sank laughing into his chair by the window, spreading his legs out over the floor. Ain't that rich, said Handsome, laughing shrilly again. Got any papers on you? You must have some sort of papers. Andrew searched his pockets. He flushed. I ought to have a school pass. You sure ought. Gee, this guy's simple, said Bill, leaning far back in the chair and blowing smoke through his nose. Look at his dog tag, Handsome. The man strode over to Andrews and jerked open the top of his tunic. Andrews pulled his body away. I haven't got any on. I forgot to put on any on this morning. No tag, no insignia. Yes, I have infantry. No papers. I bet he's been out a hell of a time. No, so they imagine that he's a deserter, obviously.
Yes, but what I don't know exactly if they discovered John because of his uniform, or they hear the speaking in English.
No, because
don't
of his uniform, because he's wearing the uniform.
He
Yes.
mustn't use the uniform for
Sorry?
going away. He mustn't use the uniform for going away.
Well, but the imagine that he doesn't have any other clothes.
Yes.
This is what he has. And so he's in his uniform, in his tunic, but he doesn't have the insignia, he doesn't have the pass, he doesn't have anything on him.
And the tunic is like a capa.
Sí,
or something.
sí, sí, como una capa, sí.
The coat.
Es como un saco largo, sí.
Okay.
Yeah. Better put the cuffs on him, said Bill. Let's wait a while. When's the loot coming? Not till night. Sure, yes, ain't no train. How about a sidecar? No, I know he ain't coming. What do you say we have a little liquor, Bill? Bet these blokes got money. You'll set us up to a glass of cognac, won't you, school detachment? So, of course, they are going to get his money too. Andrew sat very stiff in his chair, staring at them. Yes, he said, order up what you like. Keep an eye on him, handsome. You never can tell what this quiet kind's likely to pull off on you. So, told the madame you'd pay, Skinny, said the man as he passed Andrew's chair. Andrews nodded. So they started drinking, yes? They have him as a prisoner. They start also singing. Suddenly, they both burst out laughing. And the damn fool thinks he's in a school battalion, said Handsome in his shrill voice. They are making fun of him because obviously they don't know anything about the school detachment, yes? It'll be another kind of a battalion. You'll be in, Skinny. Not so good and bad, he said. Then he started humming again, and they start singing, yes? They give him some cognac, and they tell him, you won't be getting good cognac where you are going, Skinny, not by a damn sight. All right, I'll take a swig. An idea had suddenly come into Andrew's head. Gig, the bastard king drink cognac, cried Handsome. Got enough money to buy us another bottle? Andrews nodded. So he's thinking of escaping, no? The last cognac this skinny guy got from the school detachment get for many a day. Better drink up strong, Skinny. They don't have that stuff down on the farm. School detachment, I'll be goddamned. Hanson's face was crimson. Only the zigzag scar over his eye remained white. He was swearing in a low voice as he worked the cork out of the bottle. Andrews could not keep his eyes off the men's faces. They went from one to the other in spite of him. Now and then, for an instant, he caught a glimpse of the yellow and brown squares of the wallpaper and the bar with a few empty bottles behind it. He tried to count the bottles. 1, 2, 3. But he was staring the lustreless gray eyes of Bill Hughes, who lay back in his chair, blowing smoke out of his nose, now and then reaching for the cognac bottle, all the while humming faintly under his breath. So he's planning of course, what Andrews is thinking is of making these men completely drunk so that he could escape, no? The light in the room was beginning to grow gray. Handsome and Bill Haggis stood up. A young officer with clearly marked features and a campaign hat worn a little on one side came in. Stood with his feet wide apart in the middle of the floor. Andrews went up to him. I'm in the Sorbonne detachment, Lieutenant, stationed in Paris. Don't you know enough to salute, said the officer, looking him up and down. One of you men teach him to salute, he said slowly. Handsome made a step towards Andrews and hit him with his fist between his eyes. There was a flash of light and the room swung round, and there was a splitting crash as his head struck the floor. He got to his feet. The fist hit him in the same place, blinding him. The three figures and the bright oblong of the window swung round. a chair crashed down with him, and the hard wrap in the back of his skull brought momentary blackness. That's enough. Let him be. So you see, he's practically, he has practically fainted, yes? And then he got to his feet. Faint light came through the streaming tears in his eyes. His forehead flamed as if hot coals were being pressed against it. Prisoner, attention, shouted the officer's voice. March. Automatically, Andrews lifted one foot and then the other. He felt in his face the cool air of the street. On either side of him were the hard steps of the MPs. Within him, a nightmare voice was shrieking, shrieking. So the end of this section is very dark and very terrible. Yes, and the opposition of what he was living before, no? This is the beginning of the nightmare. I don't know if you agree with me, Teresa, but this is the beginning of the nightmare. And
Yes.
then we get the new part 6, Under the Wheels. You remember the different names that Dos Passos gave to the different sections of the book. And why do you think that this one is called Under the Wheels? Any idea?
Because he's passed over by the situation and he's
Yes.
so bad,
Yes.
overpassed.
Yes, of course. Now he's not, I mean, he's not a machine any longer. Well, he will be, but all the same, he's under the wheels. The wheels of the machine are moving and he's below. He cannot get up. He cannot stand up again. This is the beginning of the end. Well, so in this section, we get the uncovered garbage cans clattered as they were thrown one by one into the truck.
It's garbage, no? What is he's dealing?
Yes, garbage and then dust again.
Yes.
So, well, a very horrible description, yes? Dust and the smell of putrid things hung in the air about the men as they worked. A guard stood by with his legs wide apart and his rifle butt on the pavement between them. The early mist hung low, hiding the upper windows of the hospital. From the door beside which the garbage cans were ranged came a thick odor of carbolic. The last garbage can rattled into place on the truck. The 4 prisoners and the guard clambered on, finding room as best they could among the cans, from which dripped bloody bandages, ashes, and bits of decaying food. And the truck rumbled off towards the incinerator through the streets of Paris that sparkled with gaiety of early morning. Horrible.
Oh, horrible.
Nothing is nice here. The smell, the colors, the noises, and the bodies that are all, you know, smashed up in the place, no? So the situation has completely changed. And now we have Andrews, a prisoner. So when Claudia has appeared again, a ver, yes, Claudia is here again. Well, Claudia and Malena, because you were not here when I read the previous part. So to summarize for Claudia, Andrews was with Genevieve, enjoying nature, enjoying the situation, yes, falling in love, but an MP appeared, military police appeared, found that he didn't have permission to be there, and he's taken as a prisoner. And now he's working as a prisoner because he was considered a deserter, because he left Paris without permission. And his function here is to collect the garbage from the hospital and put it on a truck and take it to the incinerator. So all the smells and all the situation is horrible. Now he is a prisoner because he was found in a place away from Paris without permission to be there. So all his possibilities disappeared. Now he's a prisoner. The prisoners wore no tunics. Their shirts and breeches had dark stains of grease. Yes, Malena.
I'm sorry, I just heard that he's a prisoner now.
Yes, because when you left, we were reading that this military policeman found him and took him as a prisoner.
Ah, because he tried to escape and he was caught.
No, he didn't.
No.
I mean, he asked. An officer appeared. And he tried to explain to the officer that he was at the school detachment in La Sorbonne.
Yes.
And of course, the man didn't believe him. And one of the MPs hit him in the face and well, twice. And he was on the floor, practically fainted with a terrible pain. And he was taken as a prisoner. And now his duty is to take the garbage from the hospital with the horrible smells, putrid smells, and take these garbage cans to the incinerator. So his situation has changed completely. Dramatically, yes, completely. Yes, you are right, dramatically. Well,
maybe he's not going to see Genevieve anymore.
No, and he cannot ask for his permission to leave. You remember that he was going to start all this administrative thing to be relieved. Now he's a prisoner, yes, in the worst situation. Well, how many days do they keep a guy on this job, Happy? This is, Claudia, this is page 294. We are in the new part 6, under the wheels, because now he's going to be always under the machine is still there, but now the machine is moving and he's always under. He cannot get up, he cannot go out. So, how many days do they keep a guy on this job, Happy? Asked the boy with mild blue eyes and a creamy complexion and reddish curly hair. Damned if I know, kid. As long as they please, I guess. Then, after looking at the boy for a minute with his face twisted into an astonished sort of grin, he went on. Say, kid, how in hell did you get here? Robbing the cradle, or I call it, to send you here, kid. I stole a Ford. So why is this boy taken as a prisoner? Because he's very young. And the boy says, I stole a Ford. He stole a car. Like hell you did. Sold it for 500 francs. So this boy stole a car and sold it. Happy laughed and got hold of an ash can to keep from being thrown out of the jolting truck. Can you bet that guard, he cried. Ain't that something? The guard sniggered. Didn't send me to Leavenworth cause Leavenworth cause I was so young. I sent you the information about Leavenworth. That is a prison. And I sent you the information, yes? A prison that still exists. And at that time, during the First World War, was the prison for deserters. Deserters or soldiers who committed crimes. I don't know, thieves or murderers, etc.
And even objetadores de conciencia.
Yes, now I remember that I also sent you the information that some of these people, Two brothers died in this prison because they didn't want to go to the war. And they died there. So it's a place that is famous for very negative things, I would say. Yes. Well, how old are you, kid? Asked Andrews, who was leaning against the driver's seat. 17, said the boy, blushing and casting his eyes down. He must have lied like hell to get in this goddamn army. So why is the boy in the army if he's 17? No? Well, then the truck driver was swearing in a long string of words, yes, because the truck is moving very, very strongly. Goddamn, these dreaming, sky-gazing sons of branch bastards. Why don't they get out of your way? Get out and crank her up, Happy. Guess a feller'd be lucky if he'd break his leg or something. Don't you think so, Skinny? Said the fourth prisoner. It'll take more than a broken leg to get you out of this labor battalion, Hagenbach. So the way that they are punished is to be in this, what they call a labor battalion. Yes, they have to work.
Yes, as slaves, probably.
As slaves, again. That's why now he's under the wheel, not on the wheel. Well, Andrews noticed all at once that they were going down the quay along the river. Notre Dame was rosy in the misty sunlight, the color of lilacs in full bloom. He looked at it fixedly a moment and then looked away. He felt very far from it, like a man looking at the stars from the bottom of a pit. My mate, he's gone to Leavenworth for 5 years, said the kid. So when he stole the car, he wasn't alone. He was with somebody else. And this other person went to the prison. Helped you steal the Ford, did he? Asked Happy. Ford, nothing. He sold an ammunition train. Imagine this. The other man sold an ammunition train. He was a railroad man. He was a mason. That's why he only got 5 years. I guess 5 years in Leavenworth enough for anybody, muttered Hagenbach, scowling. He was a square-shouldered dark man who always hung his head when he worked. We didn't meet up till we got to Paris. We was on a hell of a party together at the Olympia. That's where they picked us up, took us to the Bastille. Ever been in the Bastille? I have, said Hagenbach. So you see, they have been taken to the prison. Ain't no joke, is it? Cry, said Hagenbach.
But the Bastille doesn't exist anymore.
No, I imagine, no? I don't know.
No, there are the ruins there in a plaza.
You can see the ruins, but not the place. Okay.
No, the place was pulled down. I don't know how, but maybe after that.
Yes, after this, because they said that it wasn't a joke at all, no? So this man says, I guess they ain't nobody gone through what we guys go through with, said Happy. It'd be better if the whole war was still a-going, to my way of thinking. They'd chuck us into the trenches then. Ain't so low as this. So this is lower than the trenches. Imagine. So the man says it would be better if the war was still on, no? Look lively, shouted the truck driver as the truck stopped in a dirty yard full of cinder piles. Ain't got all day, 5 more loads to get yet. So they go, they get the cans, they threw the garbage, they go back. The guard stood by with angry face and stiff limbs, for he feared there were officers about, and the prisoners started unloading the garbage cans. Their nostrils were full of the stench of putrescence. Between their lips was a gritty taste of cinders. Hello, Vane, how are you? So you see
I didn't interrupt before.
This is page 296, Vanessa. Yes.
Yes, I'm reading it as you're sharing.
Okay, good. So
thank you.
You see from
now that they say that this is worse than the war.
Claro, because now Andrews has been taken as a prisoner because he was found away from Paris without a permission. So he's a prisoner of war. but he's in what they call the labor battalion. The punishment was to be in this battalion, and their work is to take the garbage from a hospital to the place where they incinerated the garbage. So it is all full of horrible smells and, you know, a very disgusting job, let's say. No, that's why
Yes, but he's under the Germans or
no, the Americans, the Americans.
Okay.
But he's considered a criminal, because a criminal of war, because he abandoned or he left Paris without permission.
All right.
So the air in the dark mess shack was thick with steam from the kitchen at one end. The men filed past the counter, holding out their mess kits, into which the KPs splashed the food. You see, again, the question of the going on a road to get the food. Occasionally, someone stopped to ask for a larger helping in an ingratiating voice. They ate packed together at long tables of roughly planed boards, stained from the constant spilling of grease and coffee, and still wet from a perfunctory scrubbing. Andrew sat at the end of the bench, near the door through which came the glimmer of twilight, eating slowly, surprised at the relish with which he ate the greasy food, and at the exhausted contentment that had come over him almost in spite of himself. Hogenbach sat opposite him. Funny, he said to Hogenbach, it's not really as bad as I thought it would be. What do you mean, this labor battalion? Hell, a fellow can put up with anything. That's one thing you learn in the army. No, again, this idea, a fellow can put up with anything, no? I guess people would rather put up with things than make an effort to change them. You are goddamn right, got a butt. So again, these ideas, no, that Dos Passos throws little by little, no? People would rather put up with things than make an effort to change them. A very negative view of human beings. So,
it's true.
Sorry?
Many times. It's true many times.
It is true, of course, I know.
Otherwise, some things would not happen.
Yes, or there would be a revolution every 5 years.
Everywhere, every day. Yes.
Every day, yes.
Yes.
Well, but it all piles up, buddy. Someday there'll be an accounting. Do you believe in religion? No. Neither do I. I come of folks has done their own accounting. My father and my grandfather before him. A feller can't eat his bile day after day, day after day, no? So you cannot eat your bile, you cannot, no se las puede tragar todo el tiempo, ¿no? Un día, después otro día, ¿sí? I'm afraid he can, Hogenbach broke in Andrews. They walked towards the barracks. God damn it, no, cried Hogenbach aloud. There comes a point where you can't eat your bile anymore, where it don't do no good to cuss. Then you runs amok. Hanging his head, he went slowly into the barracks. Andrews leaned against the outside of the building, staring up at the sky. He was trying desperately to think, to pull together a few threads of his life in this moment of respite from the nightmare. You remember I told you that this was the beginning of the nightmare, no? The beginning of the end. In 5 minutes, the bugle would din in his ears. He would be driven into the barracks. A tune came to his head that he played with eagerly for a moment, and then, as memory came to him, tried to efface with a shudder of disgust. There's the smile that makes you happy. There's the smile that makes you sad. What is this tune? This is the song that the soldiers were one of the soldiers were singing before they hit him. When this MP hit him in the face, yes, very strongly, and he fainted practically, the man was singing this. So this memory comes again, no, when he was hit in that terrible way. It was almost dark. 2 men walked slowly by in front of him. Sarge, may I speak to you?